Concussion Talk podcast. I'm Nick Mercer.
And I'm Erin Guilfoyle.
Before we talk to Laurie Harris and Jim Lord of USA Cheer, I want to first thank my good friend Matt DeBicki, who gave me the opportunity to get out sailing yesterday for the first time this year, and hopefully it will not be the last, which I doubt it will be. And so anyway, Matt is also the president of April Sail NL, which gives people with disabilities the opportunity to get out sailing, to learn, and just to enjoy the water. And so please visit ablesailnl.ca, especially if you're in Newfoundland and Labrador, especially if you're on the Avalon Peninsula or in the St. John's CBS area. So if you're from here, you'll know what I'm talking about. If not, then please visit the website anyway, ablesailnl.ca. And also, before we start, to thank our sponsor, HeadCheck Health. Concussion Talk podcast is presented by HeadCheck Health. HeadCheck Health bridges the gaps in concussion care through simple, powerful technology. Join organizations like the Canadian Football League, Trek Factory Racing, the Canadian Junior Hockey League, Eastern Washington University, and Volleyball Canada, who rely on HeadCheck Health to improve communication and optimize care. Visit headcheckhealth.com for more. I'm here now with Jim Lord and Laurie Harris, and also Erin and Ashley, who will introduce us later on. But first, Jim and Laurie, I guess Laurie, you'll first introduce yourselves. And you started to mention it before I realized I wasn't recording. So you can introduce yourselves and explain your relationship with Cheer and USA Cheer.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having us. Laurie Harris, USA Cheer. I'm the executive director. I've been involved in cheerleading for close to 30 years. A former cheerleader, dancer myself in college, and then a college coach, and then just have worked in the cheer community, teaching camps, helping with competitions, coach education, kind of every little aspect of cheerleading. I've somehow been involved, primarily on the West Coast, and then now expanding in my national role with USA Cheer.
Okay, great.
So my name is Jim Lord, and I am the Director of Education and Programs for USA Cheer. And I think I may have actually been involved a little bit longer than Laurie. I won't go into the numbers, but I played football, in high school in Texas. And then when I got to college, some girl tricked me to talked me into trying out for cheerleader. And I went an entirely different path. So similarly, I've been involved as a cheerleader and as a coach and as an administrator at the high school and the college level, and then going to work for an organization called ACA, American Association of Cheer Coaches and Administrators. So we were primarily the safety arm for cheer. And then when USA Cheer was founded and developed, worked very closely with them, and then we actually merged because it makes sense to have safety under the governing body, right? So we merged with them 3 years ago. Yeah, 3 years ago. Pandemic changes all of our timelines, right? Exactly. Merged with them, and so I've been working on that as the education and programs and providing that side for USA Cheer.
Great. Well, actually, I'll get Erin and Ashley join me in a second to ask some questions. But first, I just wanted I know because Ashley sent me a bunch of videos about. I told her I sent her the thing for STUNT, but she also sent me videos on just on the pyramids and stuff and baskets, and those girls are crazy. They're bonkers. Like anyway, so it's not hard to see why concussions are such an important part of what your education is going to be. So, but first, I know you're trying to get STUNT to be recognized as an NCAA sport, and so. Could you explain just briefly, just for like the non-US, non-NCAA people out there, what is Title IX? Why is that? What does that represent?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So Title IX was the law, I think in the 1970s, that was enacted to really just kind of help further the equity in female sports. There's so many across college campuses where there's a lot more opportunities for male athletes and not as many for female. So it's been this ongoing kind of quest to be able to make sure that that females and males both have equal opportunity when it comes to not just the sports that are offered, but also their practice facilities, the scholarships that are offered, that their training facilities and their athletic trainers, and kind of everything that is equal for males and females.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Thanks. And I guess I actually will ask more not really specific, but better on actually about your relationship with TeachAids and why this partnership was so important for you guys to start up and or to accept. And what I guess we'll ask you see more what it is, but when did you guys decide to hook up with PIA and TeachAids, and why is this so important for your sport?
Jim, you want to?
Yeah, so we actually, we've actually had concussion training and concussion protocols in place since around 2011 for cheer. Obviously, the protecting the head, neck, and shoulders is one of the most important things that we teach when it comes to safety. So concussion training and education has been very important for us. And then we, through different relationships that we had with other governing bodies, came to connect up with PIA and with TeachAids and found out what they were doing. And we talked to them, looked at it, and thought, what a great additional component to what we're already doing.
Yeah.
We love the approach that they took. We love the teaching methods of being able to get all of that information in a short amount of time, right? No one wants to spend 2 hours in a class these days.
Yeah.
And they did such a great job of putting that together and doing it so that an athlete can understand it. That may be the most important thing in what she does. And so we looked at that and thought it just complements everything else that we do so well, that we wanted to partner with them and provide that information.
Great. And it's Ashley Hiscock. We'll turn over to Ashley. You can please just ask you've done this podcast a few times before, and but for people who say are crazy enough to have just heard of this podcast now, so you can just introduce yourself and just ask your questions about, because Ashley's you to explain who you are, what you do.
Sure. So my name's Ashley Hiscock. It's lovely to meet you both. I am a certified athletic therapist here in Canada, but I also coach at our local university, our cheer team. And my background was in gymnastics. So I mostly focus on tumbling for those athletes. And so my cheer knowledge is still not quite up to par, but I learn every practice.
Well, you guys won a championship in Orlando, didn't you?
We did. We won ICU Worlds, the Premier All-Girl Division in 2018. Yeah, so really exciting. I didn't get to go, but it was really exciting. So yeah, they're a great bunch, and cheerleading is just like my first love now. I still love gymnastics, but cheerleading was like my people. So it's been really great. And I had a look at the TeachAids program yesterday, actually, and it was just so accessible. Like, it was so easy to find, and it was like just clearly laid out there. And so I know Nick asked how you partnered up with them. And so that was kind of my first question, but I guess, who is that geared toward the athlete? I know you said, Jim, it was easy for the athletes to understand and digest. Is that your primary population, or is it for, the coaches as well, or parents, or, who is it really geared towards?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's geared towards everyone is the answer. But what we found is, our education primarily goes to coaches because that's our touch point, right? And then the coaches are the touch point to the athletes. And so what we hope and what we're promoting is it's for everyone, but this particular course really, it goes to the athlete, because the athlete is the one who knows more than anyone, right? But who doesn't feel like they can tell somebody that they're not feeling well, that they may have had a concussion, that they don't want to get themselves pulled out of the game. And with cheer, it's even a bigger issue because there's not a second string that can fill in, right? So if I'm out of this, that means our whole stunt group's out, or we may not be able to compete. So to get to the athlete level so that they understand this is why that may be important to you, but it really should be lowered importance. And here's why these other things are important. So it's geared, the course itself is geared to the athlete. Our promotion of it is geared to everyone. And we want athletes to come take it, but we want the coaches to be able to say, hey, this is such a great thing. And when they see it, they'll recognize all of it. And then they take that down to the athlete level. And we really want them to sit down in a practice and start off by saying, let's all talk about concussions and the importance of recognizing them. And I want you to understand from me as a coach, I would rather you sit out. You're not going to lose your spot. You know, I'd rather you sit out and get, you know, all of the time that you need to properly recover for you, not just for our team, but for you first and your future and all of those things. And then also for the team, if you're not doing well and you make a mistake, it could also injure somebody else. So all of those things really go through the coach, but end up focused on the athlete.
Yeah, that's great. It's so nice to have it covered from all aspects, like from the top down, you know, starting with the coaches, but also so that the athletes have an understanding. And like you said, some athletes don't even know when they've, you know, sustained a concussion or that they might have. I watched my friend, this was years ago, who just got, you know, she was a base and, you know, it was like a double full cradle or something, and just, you know, came down on top of her and she fell down, and next she was going to a pyramid or a basket toss. And in the routine, when you watch back, you see someone take her by the shoulder and just turn her around so that she knew where she had to be. And, you know, afterwards she's like, I had no idea. So-and-so just, you know, put me in my spot and kept going. And, you know, it was scary to realize and look back that it was probably a much more significant injury. And this was an adult, you know, that we're talking about as well. So, you know, at least you have the ability to make that decision. Whereas a child, you know, really doesn't always have the ability to make that decision or really know what's going on. So to have all of your bases covered is, you know, incredible.
Yeah. And as Jim mentioned, we've been partnering with organizations for, you know, close to 20 years or more. And with the CDC Heads Up Concussion, we work with the NHS and their concussion course for the high schools in the US. We have our own return to play for cheerleading. And then this is just an additional piece. So we're always looking for any, you know, resource that we can add and give out to our membership and to the community at large to basically just, you can't be, you know, educated enough when it comes to safety. And we've really taken a bigger stance this last year and going forward of focusing on athlete education and not just on coaches, and just really making sure that, and also parents. So it's just a holistic look at the more people who are educated that are surrounding those athletes, the better chance that they're going to get the proper, you know, people looking at them and aware of what they need, by more of them being aware of it. So as Jim mentioned, we've done so much work with coaches and that's so needed, but we're really trying to expand it even more to parents and athletes, to making sure that there's a lot of people who are all looking at, you know, that one athlete from every perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. I find with the young kids, especially, it's, you know, they're still in school, sports might be their life, cheer might be their whole life. And so they forget that someday cheer may not necessarily be as big a part of their life, you know, as currently is. And so they can't see beyond, you know, needing their brain or their arm or their leg or whatever, you know, past the age of 17, 18, 19, whenever they finish up cheer, whether that's in college or in high school. And so, yeah, it's hard for them to see a life without, you know, cheer in it potentially. So they're kind of like, no, it's worth to do it in the short term because that's all they really see. And that really goes for any sport. So
it goes for any youth. I have two daughters in that age, and yeah, they kind of can't really see past like next week, let alone a couple of years. So I keep reminding them.
Yeah. I always tell people I plan on living to be 100. And so if it's like, you know, a 12-year-old child, I'm like, so you have 88 years to go. So you need your brain or your wrist or your ankle for 88 more years. So you have to use them wisely.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess my next question is, do you have mandatory concussion training for your coaches? Or is it something that they take as like an interest piece?
Yeah, no, it's a requirement with our membership that they have taken some sort of we have many options for them to take, and they're all great resources. So we have them all on our page, but it is mandatory that they take at least one of them. We encourage all of them and to take as much education as they can, but it is a requirement for our coach membership and our athlete membership as well.
Okay, that's great.
Is that, sorry, actually, do you have another question?
I have more questions, but they're not
No,
important.
okay, go ahead. No, I'll just start asking. Erin was gonna start asking, but you go ahead.
Sure. So, hello, nice to meet you both. I work for the Newfoundland and Labrador Brain Injury Association. So concussions and all the guidelines around that are of particular interest to me. I was thinking about cheerleading though, when I knew that we were going to talk to you both. And I was thinking about within the past year, the Netflix documentaries that have come out about cheerleading, especially in the US. And I was thinking how that cultural shift was kind of the first time in social media that people have really been talking about cheerleading as a sport, talking about like the nuances that maybe people who don't cheer don't know. And I enjoyed in those documentaries as well. I'm not sure if either of you have seen them, but they do touch on concussions and they do kind of bring that to light. I was wondering on your opinions on it and kind of where you want to see social media to bring that value. And if you think there's a shift in the change of young people now.
Yeah, I can. Anytime. I think I've got an echo.
No, I'm the one. You're good now.
Okay. Yeah. So, awareness is 80% of the issue, I think, even, more than just 50%. So making people aware that the issue is out there so that they can then address it, I think is really important. So from that aspect, any of the social media chatter and things that we're seeing now on the focus on cheerleading or the awareness of cheerleading and how athletic it is and what these athletes are doing is good, as long as we can then bring that back into let's now do something, right? So it's great to find out these things for people that haven't been aware of them. But again, we've been working on these issues for quite some time and have had really good results, and we want to continue that. So to the extent that it helps us, find other people and partner with people like TeachAids and help bring that education to the coaches and to the athletes and to the parents, that's really good. So it's important for us to take that and move it forward, not just we don't want to dwell here because this isn't a solution. We want to take that awareness and now let's move it into action so that we can make things better.
So in terms of action as well, what are some of the next steps that you feel will come for the sport?
Or you want to touch on that one? Or
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're moving in we're in such a great place of where we're moving towards. Rules and regulations has been a key component of keeping kind of the change in the landscape of injuries. And that's been from years past. There were some significant rule changes. Oh gosh, probably Jim, what was like 8 years ago or so as it came in relation to basket tosses. And we've already seen a huge shift in injuries from that. So we're constantly on top of the rules and regulations, which limits or kind of helps with the skills in particular. So obviously prevention is of course the number one priority. And then of course, in any activity you're going to have, concussions or injuries will happen. And so from there, it's, prevention and then awareness. And then more importantly, how can you quickly, or not even quickly, but recover properly. So we feel like we have, kind of all three of those areas pretty well lined out with a ton of our partners. And that's kind of our focus, is just continuing with our partners in awareness, prevention, and then again, recovery. And by doing that, we're all, holistically looking at the cheer community in general and always making sure that the athletes, best interest is always our primary focus.
That's great.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Nick.
I was just going to make a comment about how, like you were saying, we touched on they don't look good. Athletes tend not to, because there's nothing past competitively sport-wise and related to there's nothing past NCAA or university or college or even high school for many people for cheerleading. That's it for cheer. It's really good. I'd say high school, maybe except maybe college, university, and that's it. And then there's so much more of their life that's out there. And I think I was going to say is that the mission of how important it is. I don't know if you guys can touch on this a bit, and also touch on how important it is for, as Jim mentioned, that if you're based, you just say if you're based and you're concussed, hearing your concussion may actually not only affect you, but affect other people, or even not a base, any member of the team, how important teamwork is in cheer. That's what I was remarking about, the trust and the teamwork. That just watching those videos that Ashley sent me and the documentaries, and so you can just touch, if you could just touch on that, and also just a good time to it. Ask about, talk about stunt and how, and that's obviously very important. Concussion training is very important for stunt, and just if you could explain what that is, and yeah, touch on the last part.
Yeah, Nick, let me first talk about, you know, the training from TeachAids. One of the things that they do in there so well is they show athletes continuing to play while concussed,
Yeah,
and how that can negatively affect the team. So
yeah,
that helps that athlete. Again, I don't want to leave because I don't want to negatively affect the team.
yeah,
And this helps show them, no, by leaving, you're helping yourself, but that part of you that just doesn't want to, you know, I don't want to hurt my team, I don't want to be the reason we lose. By staying in, you could actually hurt your team.
yeah,
Right. And in cheer, this is one of the things we really try to get across to our coaches is, you know, if you make a mistake, you know, in football, you might miss the ball, or you might miss your block. And of course, somebody can get injured there. But if you make a mistake as a base or as a top in cheer, that means the stunt might come down. And so you could further risk someone else, one of your teammates, and you don't want to do that. So again, the TeachAids program does a really good job of speaking that athlete to athlete language that helps them. And again, it's why we want the whole group involved, the parents and the coaches and everybody, to help them understand this is cheer, just like other sports in high school and college. That's a tool, that's an avenue, that's a thing that we can use to help teach you work ethic and setting goals and being a good team player, and, you know, all of those things, the positive things. But when you get done, you're not going to be cheering when you're 30 years old. You're going to have a job. And what we want you to use is those things that you've learned, how to work with a team, how to speak in front of people, how to gather, especially on the cheer side, how to gather a group of people that may not be motivated to do something and say, let's figure out how to get this done. It's a great thing, but not if you've suffered the brain injury and not fully recovered to do that. So it makes it so much more difficult to then navigate. So again, it's that whole well-rounded part. I'll let Laurie talk about you know, stunt and what stunt has done. But, you know, stunt, we also, as we develop stunt, we built in specific safety techniques and safety measures that help, again, further minimize risk. But I'll let Laurie talk a little bit about stunt and what that is for people that may not know it.
And Laurie, before you do, Laurie, can you just mention the website where they can find the website and all the stuff about stunt, so people can watch the videos that I watched?
Yeah, stunt is newer. I mean, cheerleading's been around for, you know, many years, and stunt was developed just in the last 10 years. And it's the, you know, sport, you know, format of cheer. So it's taking all of that crowd leading, entertainment kind of piece out and just keeping the athletic skills of cheerleading. And we put it into a 4-quarter format. So it's a game, and we just have done skill versus skill. And so it's 2 teams head to head performing the same skills that are pre-choreographed for them. So there's no creativity on their part. It's all pre-done. And the routines are done from lower level of the easier routines all the way up to the, you know, higher levels. And the advantage of that is that their scoring is based upon execution. So if they don't execute well, they're not going to get the point against the other team. So there's no advantage to try something that you don't have perfectly. And we do encourage modifications. So that right there is kind of a built-in safeguard. There's no extra points for creativity or trying something you're not ready for. You're automatically going to not get the point. And so it's better for them to either forfeit that round or modify the skill until they're ready. And so that is one great thing about stunt that really helps them develop at a younger age and build up their skills. Because we have introduced stunt at the club level this last year. So we now have 8-year-olds playing all the way up through college. And so it's great to be able to, and we have the skills for that particular age. So it's really helping them develop, whether they continue a stunt or they go into traditional cheerleading or competitive cheerleading. It gives them a really great foundation of executing some great skills as they progress.
Right. Yes. And actually, it's actually you can ask with the more the just the forgement let's say aspects, disciplines of stunt. 4 different disciplines in each quarter. No, each quarter there's baskets.
Quarter 1 is partner stunts,
Parents.
and then quarter 2 is pyramids and tosses, and then we have a little halftime, and then our third quarter is jumps and tumbling, and then the fourth quarter it's like more of the traditional routine that cheerleaders are known for. And you put the 3 quarters together to create their fourth quarter routine.
Okay.
It's
Ashley will appreciate this, is that, you know, it's designed so that I'm not even using all of the athletes in every quarter. And so that jumps and tumbling quarter, I could have kids who are great at jumps and tumbling, like, you know, more of the gymnastics directive kids who may not be great at partner stunts or spotting or basing or things like. They don't ever have to go on the floor for those. They can just do the jumps and tumbling. And likewise, I may have somebody who is a great back spot, and every cheer coach will know exactly what I'm talking about. They're an amazing back spot, but they can't do a back tuck to save their life, and may not have the training or the background in it. Well, they don't have to. They don't ever have to take the floor during the jumps and tumbling quarter. So there are so many little things like that that are built in, but it's such a fun game to watch. I really encourage everybody to go. You can see it at stuntthesport.org. And you can also link to it off of our usacheer.org website. So you can actually watch it.
I'll link to it in the description for this.
Yeah, you can watch a game. You can see it now on YouTube. A lot of the colleges that are playing are streaming it. You know, we're going through the process as an NCAA emerging sport. High schools are picking it up at the high school level, and like Laurie said, all the way down to the grassroots club level.
Okay, well, so did Erin ask, did you have any question about the stunt aspect or the different disciplines of cheerleading, of cheer?
No, I had actually never heard of stunt until a couple of days ago. So Nick had, kept saying about stunt, and finally I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. So I can't wait to look into it because it sounds really cool.
Yeah, we're excited. Like I said, we're on the emerging sport list now with the NCAA, and that has been our mission, is to be able to, going back to Title IX, is to be able to expand that opportunity at the college level for all these athletes that have been doing some form of cheer since potentially when they were young, all the way up through high school. But then, it's a very small amount of positions that are open at the college level, even on a traditional cheer team. And so this just gives more opportunities of the skill set that they're already have experience in to potentially be on a part of a sport and part of an athletic program, and even potential scholarships at the college level. Just gives a little bit further of their career, of their love for their activity to do something in college.
Yeah, because your USA Cheer is the governing body of cheer in the US. That's so is and since USA Cheer itself is paired with TeachAids, we'll have some stunt, I assume, will have a requirement for the TeachAids, the concussion courses.
It does. Our stunt athlete memberships have that requirement. Our stunt coaches, they all have that requirement to go through. For the stunt coaches, we offer them, they can take any of those courses, right? But for the athletes, we specifically said, you have to go through this TeachAids course, again, because knowing it's geared right for them. They don't want to take anything, right? But when they get into it, they get into it quickly, and it's again over so quickly. It gives them all that great information. So that is a requirement for us.
Oh, good, perfect. That's great. And again, Erin, Ashley, is there anything you would like to ask about stunt or anything really?
No question, just a remark on the fact that I love how modifications are encouraged as well. So even if you have an athlete who's coming back to the sport, like the modifications and not pushing yourself to like go to this standard that's perfection, because you're not going to get your point or whatever it is, the intrinsic value of wanting to do it, but saying just keep practicing and take your own pace. And I think that's a skill that should be taught all along in any sport. But yeah, no, I love that that's kind of built in, and then that mindset allows more healing.
Yeah, and actually, oh, geez, my let's see now, is this better? Okay, can you hear me fine? Okay, yeah, no, I was just remarking the summer thing about how STUNT takes away the more coffee, the more like the cheerleading, cheerleading type, traditional cheerleading aspect of it. So there's like just you take some of the encourages people to only do what they can do and not what they not take or not take chance on the stunt they don't perfect it. And so I would say that it takes some of the I don't know if anybody's seen the actual stunt program or any of the stunts that they do, and like pyramid or baskets or tumbles or jumps. That's all that say it takes the risk out of it is sounds a bit weird, but it does take a lot of the risk out of the attempting it. And I think that's great, and that gives people the athletes confidence into what they're doing, and that someone will catch them, someone will be there for them, or just know what to look for.
Yeah, just like other sports where you have like those specialty athletes, and
yeah,
but they are, whether it's you're the quarterback or you're the running back or you're the kicker, or you're the point guard, like you have a role, and that's kind of like what you're really good at. And I know with competitive cheer, which is so fun, but you kind of have to make the mat. You have to be good at everything, ideally.
Yeah.
And so this is different, where it's meant to be different. It's meant to be, something that we've also seen at high school, actually at the college level, where there are athletes who maybe are doing as a fall sport, cross country or doing volleyball or something. And then they actually now, but they don't want to be a traditional cheerleader in the fall during football games, but then in spring comes around and they now have an opportunity to join the stunt program and more in that specialty role. And so that's been really fun to see some just giving new opportunities for multi-sport play, showcasing and something that they might not have ever been able to be a part of or had the time or the desire for certain aspects of it. Now this kind of opens up a little bit more, a few more doors for that.
Right.
Nick, you mentioned that the removing the risk or lowering the risk. It's interesting because what STUNT does is it forces a structure of progression. And of course, progression is something that we preach over and over and over. It's important in every sport, right? And it's something that we, train our coaches on for all of cheer and stunt. But one of the interesting things we've seen is it's kind of had a bleed over effect from cheer coaches who have watched stunt athletes get better because they focus so much on the fundamentals. They have to be able to do routine level 1 and routine level 2 and routine level 3. So they're focusing on perfecting these skills. And we've seen a bleed over into cheer coaches realizing, wow, that team got so much better. Oh, they were also playing stunt. Or, oh, those athletes that came from stunt over to my cheer team look really good. And so it helps reinforce the things that we teach with stay at that level until they've shown proficiency and then move up. And what you'll find is they're so much better when you do all of the progressions and the lead up skills you're supposed to. So it's had a good crossover effect. And that's, Erin asked, like, what do we expect to see in the future? That's one of the things is as we keep making these little, a little bit of headway here, a little bit of headway there, it all starts to add up and people start realizing, what needs to be done. And you start to see those effects get better and better and better.
Excellent. Yeah. So actually, hopefully you touched on, Laurie and Jimmy will touch on everything you're up to in this podcast. And if not, please speak now. And otherwise, just tell people where they can find out more about USA Cheer and your partnership with TeachAids and STUNT also.
The one thing I would add is thank you so much for having us, because as I said earlier, the awareness is such an important part of this. Yeah. And blogs like yours, I mean, you reached more than the athletes, you reached the general public and especially the parents. So the one thing I would add is if you're a parent of a cheerleader, a parent of a stunt athlete, you should be asking the questions, what is our program doing? What are our protocols? What do we have in place from a training standpoint? Hey, my child, did you do any concussion training yet? So they're such an important part of making sure these things are getting done and then reinforcing that from the parent side, whether if they see something like, my kid's acting a little different today at dinner, or I turn the lights on and they're like, ow, that hurts. The symptoms that you learn through the training, that they can be those eyes and ears and help protect their kids and help, again, provide a great environment where kids can play and continue to play and have fun doing so. So you can find the resources are available on usacheer.org. And then under our safety and education tab, you'll find a link. We have a lot of training stuff, but under that tab, you'll find a link for our concussion resources. You can also easily just get there by doing usacheer.org/concussion, and that'll get you right to the spot. It has all of our TeachAids, our return to play protocol, our links to the CDC partners, and links to the NFHS, and all of that information.
Great. So I just have to wait to see if I guess the gym said all, but so Laura, are you near P in Stanford, or you're not necessarily in Stanford, you're separate. I shouldn't even remark that, but I'll take that up. But yeah, so are you near where P is? Where P is teaches located?
Yeah, not too far, a couple hours away. I actually grew up in the Bay Area near Stanford. And so definitely that was really nice to see such a high credible organization doing work and offering it out to all these organizations. It's just great because there's you want to make sure that we are constantly partnering with experts in their field. And we're experts in cheer. And then we really seek out, that's what we've done a lot of work the past few years in particular, is, really creating great partnerships and relationships with other organizations that let them really focus what they're great at, and then how we can integrate that and share that within the cheer community, whether it's sports and nutrition, whether it's strength training. We have a great partnership with True Sport as well as USA Weightlifting. And these are all key components that cheerleaders integrate into their normal schedules and daily lives. So we really love that this, able to find organizations that are great at what they do and we can infuse into what we're doing.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you, Erin and Ashley and Jen and Laurie. And again, so it's usacheer.org and stuntthesport.org. And check those out, and check out USA Cheer on, I guess, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And where's your? I'm assuming YouTube, but you can tell me.
We're predominantly on USA Cheer on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook.
Okay. Well, then it's like Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And so thank you so much for being part of this podcast. And again, I hope everyone checks out just Stunt and any other cheer documentaries or videos that they see. Just the athletes are just incredible. So thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thanks. Music at the beginning of this podcast is by Ben Sound. www.bensound.com.